Thanksgiving used to be my favorite holiday. Not for the food or the fall decor or the obligatory hugs from relatives I barely knew, but because I believed deep in my naive heart that maybe, just maybe, this year my parents would see me. Not as the forgotten middle child, not as the one who just exists, but as their daughter, as a mother, as someone worthy of love and respect. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. This year, I hosted dinner for the first time. I cooked for 3 straight days. My twin boys, Jack and Liam, helped me mash the potatoes. My husband, Ethan, cleaned the windows so the house sparkled. We wanted everything to be perfect, because my parents had never come to my home for Thanksgiving before, not once in the 12 years since I'd moved out. So when they finally accepted the invitation, I thought it meant something. They arrived with the usual flair, my mom in her fur coat, my dad already grumbling about the drive. My sister Mia walked in like royalty, her designer bag swinging on her elbow and her new fiancé trailing behind her like a lost puppy. As they stepped in, my mom looked around and wrinkled her nose. "Cozy," she said flatly. I swallowed the sting and smiled. "Dinner's almost ready. Make yourselves comfortable." Dinner was served at a beautifully set table. My boys had hand-decorated the place cards. There was cider, wine, candles, and my best china. Everyone took their seats, except my parents. "Oh," Mom said suddenly, noticing the seats. "Are we sitting here? With them?" She nodded toward my children. Dad chuckled. "Well, that's what happens when you let her plan things. The unwanted one gets a chance to pretend she belongs," Mom muttered, just loud enough for everyone to hear. The room went quiet. I froze. My kids looked up at me, confused. Ethan's hand tightened on mine under the table. I tried to brush it off. "Let's eat before everything gets cold." But Mom wasn't done. "Honestly," she said, reaching for the wine, "I'm surprised she remembered to season anything. She's always been the forgettable one." Mia laughed. "To be fair, Mom, you did call her the family shadow growing up." Everyone laughed. Everyone except me and my sons, who now looked ashamed to be sitting beside me. I stood calmly, slowly. "Excuse me," I said, and walked out of the dining room without a word. In the kitchen, I clenched the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. 100 childhood memories slammed into me, birthdays forgotten, school awards ignored, injuries dismissed, and worst of all, the way they always lit up for Mia like she was the sun itself, while I was the dark hallway no one wanted to walk down. I had begged them to come this year, pleaded even, because some stupid part of me still hoped, and in front of my children, they had humiliated me. But I wasn't going to cry. Not this time. I took a deep breath, and I began plating their food again, quietly, methodically, but not onto the fine china. No, not this time. This time, I reached under the sink, where the dog bowls were, and I began to serve, quietly, calmly, with a smile on my face that didn't quite reach my eyes. I carried the dog bowls into the dining room like nothing had changed, my heels clicking steadily on the hardwood floor. My family didn't notice at first. They were too busy discussing Mia's upcoming wedding in Italy and how prestigious her guest list was going to be. Mom was mid-rant about the chef they hired when I gently set the first bowl in front of her. It took her a second to register. She stared at the stainless steel, confused. "What is this?" I set the second bowl in front of Dad. Mashed potatoes, turkey, cranberry sauce, all piled perfectly inside the dish, labeled Butch. Our family dog had died 5 years ago, but I had kept the bowls. "What the hell is this, Natalie?" Dad barked, his voice rising. I turned to Mia and her fiancé, still holding 2 porcelain plates. "You'll be served like the guests you are," I said flatly. "This is for the ones who think I'm beneath them." "You think this is funny?" Mom hissed. "You're humiliating us." My jaw clenched. "Oh, so you can feel humiliation?" Ethan stood slowly from the table, gently guiding the kids out of the room, sensing the firestorm about to hit. "Let's play in the den, boys," he said quietly. Mom needs a minute." Once they were gone, I faced them fully. "You came into my home, sat at a table my children decorated, and called me unwanted in front of them. Do you have any idea what kind of damage that does to a child? You did it to me for decades, but I'll be damned if you do it to them too." Dad scoffed. "You're being dramatic, Natalie. You've always been like this, sensitive, weak." I stepped forward slowly, my voice low, trembling not from fear, but from years of rage finally unraveling. "You made me believe I was a burden, that I was invisible. At every birthday, every award ceremony, every milestone, you never looked at me the way you looked at Mia. I begged you to come to my high school graduation. You took a cruise instead. When I got promoted last year, you congratulated my sister for getting engaged the same week. When I had a miscarriage, you told me to stop being so emotional, and then sent flowers to Mia for getting a puppy." I laughed bitterly, tears brimming but not falling. "And still, I invited you, because I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd see me. But all you did was prove that even in front of my children, I'm nothing but a punchline to you." Mia stood then, arms folded. "This is ridiculous. You're making a scene because of a joke." My eyes locked on hers. "No, Mia, you've always been the joke. You just had better PR." She scoffed. "You think you're better than us now?" "I know I am," I said coldly, "because I've spent years building a life from the crumbs you left me. And the only reason I haven't cut you all off completely is because my sons deserved to know where they come from, but now, even that's over." I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer, and came back with 3 sealed envelopes. I handed one to each of them. "What is this?" Dad growled. "Your retirement gift," I said. "Consider it official." They opened the letters and immediately paled. The documents were from my lawyer, severing all legal and financial ties. I had removed them as emergency contacts, revoked their access to any joint inheritance paperwork from my late grandfather's estate, the only reason they even pretended to be cordial these last few years, and served notice that the family trust, which they thought I didn't know about, was now legally in my children's names. You can't do this," Mom shrieked. "I already did," I replied. "I've been planning it for 6 months. The moment you called my son too loud, just like his mother, at Easter. That was the last straw." Dad pushed his chair back so fast it squeaked. "You'll regret this, Natalie." "No," I said, voice steady. "I regretted wasting my life begging for love you were never capable of giving, but that ends tonight." They stormed out, leaving their dog bowls behind. Mia stood frozen, red with fury. "You're going to regret humiliating us." I smirked. "Funny. That's exactly what you said to me in high school when you pushed my science fair project off the table." I turned away as she stomped out, her fiancé trailing behind her, thoroughly disturbed. As the door slammed shut, I took a deep breath and exhaled, and for the first time in my life, the air felt clean. Ethan re-entered the room with the boys, who looked at me, wide-eyed. "Mom, are you okay?" Jack asked quietly. I knelt and hugged them both. "I'm perfect now." And in that moment, I finally was. The days after that Thanksgiving were quieter than I expected. No angry phone calls, no tearful apologies, just silence. It was almost eerie, but then again, they were always loudest when they were in control. Now that they weren't, now that I had drawn a boundary they couldn't cross, their voices faded into static. I woke up the next morning to an email from my sister. "You went too far." That was it. No context, no acknowledgement of the years she'd gone too far. Just those 4 words, brittle and trembling with entitlement. I didn't respond. Instead, I got to work. I took the dog bowls and framed one with a tiny brass plate underneath. For services rendered, it now sat in my home office next to the framed photo of my boys and me baking the birthday cake they never got to eat. That cake, the one my sister tossed in the trash like it was a joke, had become the symbol of everything I'd survived, of everything I'd rebuilt. But poetic justice wasn't done yet. The twist came 3 weeks later. I was at the local coffee shop working on a client's branding pitch when the owner, Mr. Ellis, called me over. He ran the largest real estate network in the county and had just brought me on as his digital strategist. "You're not going to believe this," he said, handing me a file. "Guess who came crawling in asking for help with a campaign proposal?" I raised an eyebrow. "Who?" He slid the folder across the counter. There it was, Mia's name and branding pitch, her face in glossy print. She was trying to launch her luxury event planning business, a weak attempt to break into the same industry where I'd already made a name for myself. "She listed you as a reference," he added with a smirk. I laughed. "Did she now?" "I figured you should be the one to decide." So I did. That afternoon, I wrote the most honest reference I've ever written. Mia Collins is punctual, photogenic, and persuasive, but her events are emotionally hollow and built on aesthetics, not empathy. If you value substance and integrity, look elsewhere. If you want to be dazzled for 15 minutes and forgotten by tomorrow, she's your girl. I didn't hear back from her. But 2 weeks later, her launch event flopped. Word got around that the city's largest client, Mr. Ellis himself, had passed on her. She took it personally. How could she not? The final blow came in December when I released my new branding campaign called Uninvited. It featured a mother sitting alone at a Thanksgiving table and a voiceover that said, "They told me I wasn't wanted, so I built a life where I was needed." The ad went viral. Sponsors reached out. Magazines featured my story. And then one day, a package arrived at my door. No return label. Inside was a crumpled piece of paper, the same RSVP card I had mailed to my sister before Thanksgiving, now torn in half and scribbled on in black marker. "You win." But I hadn't won. I had simply walked away. And that's what they never understood. I wasn't trying to beat them. I was trying to free myself. That winter, I hosted Christmas at my home. Ethan carved the roast. The boys hung their handmade ornaments. And when we all sat at the table, I noticed something strange. There were no empty chairs, no silence, no fake smiles, no hidden bruises under the wrapping paper of family. Just warmth, laughter, peace. Later that evening, as the boys fell asleep beside the tree and the fire crackled softly, Ethan turned to me. "You okay?" he asked. I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. The good kind this time. "I'm better than okay," I whispered. I finally made room for the right kind of family. And in that flickering light, surrounded by people who chose me, not out of obligation, but out of love, I finally understood. Being unwanted by the wrong people is just the beginning of being cherished by the right ones. And I would never let anyone, not my parents, not my sister, not the ghosts of holidays past, take that from me again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you